Hello, Jörg here. Today I want to talk about nonviolent communication. It's a topic which is really important for me at the moment because when I see the media, the language being used, how headlines are being framed, what are the statements our political and organizational corporate leaders are doing, I feel that a lot of this is not in line with nonviolent communication, because the communication being used is creating conflicts, it's projecting single-sided views which are then excluding different perspectives. They are not necessarily fact-based, they are agenda-driven, and it creates an environment which feels more and more suffocating and toxic and also dangerous. We see it across the globe that now there is a lot of uncertainty economically. We see a lot of trends that people who were able to talk to each other despite having different backgrounds and different beliefs are now becoming more aggressive and pushing people aside who are not having the same beliefs and worldviews. And this is something which is deeply rooted in psychology and how our brains work, right? Because from a survival perspective, we need to remember everything which is dangerous, because otherwise our survival chances are going down. So basically, from an evolutionary perspective, we remember negative experience way more than positive experiences. Because positive experiences are nice to have, but they are not important for survival. And the more we are exposed to certain language, the more we hear certain stories, right? The more our brain kind of remembers this and then subconsciously creates and shifts our beliefs. So we become more anxious, we feel more insecure and unsafe, we question and challenge other beliefs rather than being open. And there has been a lot of studies about that, and it's something which humans know forever. And I want us to be aware of how this language and how these stories shift our worldviews, what kind of emotions they create. And I find it really important that we are conscious of what's happening to us. Because when you just look at the headlines of an online magazine or the online channel, right? Look at the headlines, which of them are framed neutrally and which of them are not. And when we are aware, we can still read the article, read the headlines, but we are becoming more immune to the kind of agenda which is behind framing it in a certain way. Because I strongly believe if we keep talking about conflicts, we will have these conflicts. If we will talk about that certain beliefs are not okay, we will not be inclusive. We will not solve our problems, neither locally, especially not globally. As humans, we need to be compassionate. We need to work together. And we need to understand that fundamentally, we all share the same needs. We all have similar desires and hopes. And fundamentally, we have so much more in common than the things which are differentiating us. And me, as a German living in Indonesia and being in a multicultural environment every single day, how would my life be if everybody is somebody I would be suspicious about? And my experience is when I'm talking and when I'm meeting people, yes, sometimes we have different opinions, we have different beliefs, but fundamentally we are okay together, we can have fun, we can talk, we can share a lot of things. And I am concerned that the agenda some people are having, right, is not helping us to solve our problems. And I don't want to mention any examples here, because that then leads often into a political debate. Okay, do we have that? Do we have this? Is white better than green or whatever, right? So it's about taste and flavors and things, and that's not the point. My message is about being aware of the language we are exposed to and the language we are using, and how that impacts our beliefs, our behavior and the dynamics of things and the interactions and the relationships we have involved. And I'm having hope that if more and more of us are conscious about the language we are exposed to, especially in media, especially listening to our leaders, especially when we look at groups, that the world will become a better place, because then we can maintain inclusivity rather than pushing people out. While editing the video, I just thought I'd bring some examples. So if we talk about conflict, we will have conflict. If we talk about war, there will be war. If we talk about enemies, we will have enemies. If we talk about problems, there will be problems. On the other hand, if we talk about peace, we will have peace. If we talk about opportunities, there will be opportunities. If we talk about agreements, we will have agreements. And if we talk about friends, we will have friends. That's the aspect of self-fulfilling prophecy. So what do we want to talk about? We want to talk about friends, or do we want to talk about enemies? I'm looking forward for your perspectives and your views on that. Please share in the comments below what you think about how language impacts us, what language is being used. I didn't bring any examples here because I wanted to keep it neutral, but feel free to share your views and your examples where you feel that language is impacting us and where non-violent communication and the aspects behind can help us individually, in our community, in our country, and globally. Thanks for listening.